Hey everybody, this is Grim. I'm going to tell you a story of one of my first cases as a paranormal investigator. Have the files here on my laptop, but I also have them on paper too. If you want me to go through them, I will. It's called Crybaby Bridge. Now, I'll let you know I knew this guy named Jim for many years, and Sarah for a little less. We went down to the Crybaby Bridge a couple of months ago. Here's the story how it goes. Jim woke me up by knocking on my door. It was late. So we went. He gave me the information that I wanted about a case that we were going to. This time, apparently, the town wants to know, so we're getting paid. He was excited. Our first paid case, he said. I said, Jim, yeah, I suppose. It is our first paid case. He looked at me, and I looked at him and said, man, okay, get the stuff ready, get what we need. So he packed up the equipment. And we went off. We picked up Sarah on the way. And she's one of those sorted types, about 5'6", long brown hair, came down just past her mid back. She had a couple of tattoos on her wrists, one of a crow, another one of a wolf, kind of like a Celtic or Nordic design. She was a pagan. She was also a sensitive. I didn't ask her about her religion. She didn't ask about mine. But Jim brought it up in conversation when we first met. She also had various tattoos, some I've never seen. Some Jim have, but that's after getting a couple of broken bones. One being his nose and the other one being his fingers. Because he got a little handsy. She was usually dressed in black or blue jeans. She mainly wore black. She had a nose piercing, a little stud. Usually, she had greenish blue eyes, kind of like an aqua. Really freaky. Jim, he's your typical 5'6", muscle-bound. Well, when we met in high school, he was a football player. Still in good shape, too. Me, I'm just your average 5'5". Not scrawny, but not really bulky dude. I guess you want to say. So, as we were going down to the city, coming out of the city from the airport, we got in a little clunky little red Jeep. Oh man, I can't drive. Jim got to pick the cars. And Sarah really didn't like the cars that Jim picked half the time. Remember on our field trips that we used to go into? I won't go into them, but Jim always rented some crappy vehicles. This one was an off-road vehicle. I was like, it was a Jeep. Just your average Jeep. Had paint scrapes here and there, but not very noticeable unless you were nitpicky like I was. Well, still am. We packed up our equipment in the back. Sarah and Jim, they chatted most of the time on the way there about random music and stuff like that. Starting bands, and me, I started just working on the camera to make sure it would work. We had very little issue with this vehicle. So we arrived at the campsite, unpacked our stuff, packed. Well, we got permission from the local authorities to camp near the river. Made sure of it, since the mayor is the one that wanted us to check this out. I don't know why he hired us, but, you know, guess he wanted publicity. So, as I was unpacking that day, late that afternoon, Sarah looked at me and said, this place feels strange. I said, yes, Sarah, this place is supposed to be strange. She said, no, there's a weird, haunting feeling about this place, not like any other place we've been. I looked at her and said, Sarah, this is just our routine. What we normally do. Yes, this is one of our first paid cases. Sure, if we do a good enough job, we'll get others. See, the thing is, the reason why we started getting paid is because we wanted to get paid to do this. Is that there have been some incidents in the past with what do we do? I was unpacking our stuff and the camera equipment. We started setting it up. I heard some noises and rattling in the woods, and I'm like, that's just nothing, Whatever's out there, we've got it covered. Jim packed up a couple of things that we would need, food and stuff like that, and we never left any food on the ground. We always tied it up in a tree. We don't know this place, so, we had to make sure that our bases were covered. So as I was putting the rocks in a circular formation to keep the fire from blazing out of control, Jim was out there in the woods looking for some sticks and branches and stuff like that. Sarah chuckled and said, it would have been better if we would have got one of those, we would have stopped by one of the local shops and picked up some logs. Jim didn't want to do that. He said, we're going to camp. I was like, we weren't here to camp. We were here to find out what was going on here and why it was happening. So, I hooked up the equipment up to the generator that we brought. Really didn't want to use a generator, but that was Jim's idea. I said we could have stayed at a hotel and hooked up the cameras up at a hotel or rented a trailer, something like that. Jim wouldn't have nothing of it. Sir just was helping me hook up the cameras by the lake. It was getting dark. I had one camera pointing towards the woods. Sarah had another one underneath the bridge, and along with the white noise generator. And we would have hooked up sensors. The thing is that we were near the lake. Anything could have set those things off. Anything could set those things off, and we didn't want that to alarm us. In the middle of the night when it go off and there's nothing there. We check the cameras and it's there. You know what I'm saying? So that night we were about to set up when I was set up for watch, and it was my turn. watched cameras, and I started seeing on camera 5, started seeing a mist form. Yeah, it was cold, but there was no mist, no fog around me. There was chill in the air, but nothing major, nothing like too cold. And the camera mist started forming in front of the camera, and the camera went off, just off. It, like the battery had just died. I woke up Sarah and said, Sarah, I'm going to go check out the camera. Tell Jim that I'm going to go check out the camera. She said, okay. So I went down there, and she got up and looked and woke up Jim. Didn't find out until much later. What Jim saw something in the woods the night, earlier that day, just passing glimpse of something. Nothing major, as he was doing an EVP session. We usually look at these things after the fact that, we leave, for evidence and whatnot. I started hearing a whimpering sound as I got closer to the lake. I would travel through the woods to, get a little more evidence, I suppose. It's stupid, I know. Started hearing tree limbs, not limbs. I guess they were limbs. They were snapping. Like that. Sticks started snapping. I started walking at a higher pace because, it could be a bear or something. I didn't want to, start letting it come for me. So I started getting close to the lake, but the camera's knocked over. I was like, okay, maybe it's fine. I pick up the camera. The plastic bag hadn't been tampered with, but the battery was still dead. Looked it over, there's some sand on it, dirt on it, but nothing on the camera itself, just the bag. The camera had looked like it had been falling over, but the thing is that we made sure that it couldn't be pushed over easily, so, me and Jim made sure there was, stakes that tied it to it and put it into the ground next to it, that way it wouldn't blow over, or, get washed downstream. One rope was tied to each side of the thing, and the rope was cold. It had I don't know, you dust something off. So it's something's been in the freezer for a while, like frost, you want to say. It was cold. Very cold. And as I dropped it up, as I picked up the camera, I started getting a cold chill down my spine. You know that chill you get when you know somebody is looking at you, staring at you. That chill that you know if you turn around, you're gonna scream. I turned around slowly, and there she was. She slowly started to walk towards me. And slowly, you could see the face. Her face was like a pale moonlight. I mean, the moon just glanced off of it. It was just as pale as the moon. Like if you looked up at the moon, you would see that face. Her eyes were as white as the whites of your eyes, it was like if someone had frozen her in time. The dress was the period of the farmer's wife. 17th, 1800s, something around that time. She slowly crept up on me, walking slowly, repeating the same thing. Have you seen thy baby? I slowly started to walk backwards. She said again, have you seen thy baby? I slowly started to walk further. I didn't know the time, but I was walking underneath the bridge. I got closer to the bridge, and as soon as I got underneath it, I fell. I hit the ground on the rocks. It hurt. It was like a sting, like if someone had shocked you with a stun gun. It was like zap. Surged throughout my body. I was grasping at my back. And then I heard Sarah faintly out of my right side saying my name, and I turned and looked, and there was Sarah, and I looked around, and she was gone. The lady was gone. I looked at Sarah and I said, did you see that? She said, no, but I felt something. Something told me to come and check on you. Oh, I got up and I said, I hope I got that on film. Just as we were walking out from underneath the bridge, we started hearing a baby cry. We looked at each other and I said, no, that can't be. Do you hear that? She said, yes. Something, it was coming from the middle of the lake. You could see middle of the river. Under the bridge, you could see a child floating. Just barely above the water. It was crying for its mother. You knew that's what it was saying. Because Sarah looked at me and said it wants its mother. I looked at her and said, let's go. Let's leave. We got enough evidence. Let's go. Sarah said, no, we have to find its mother. I said, Sarah, no. She said, it needs me. I said, it doesn't need you. You're not its mother. She said, but it needs me. I said, it's not. You're not its mother. I screamed at her, and then she slowly started to walk into the river towards the child. I said, Sarah, no. I had to get to Sarah. Just as I was walking out to the river, I felt something grab my foot. It pulled. It would not let me go to Sarah. It wouldn't let me go. I was kicking at it. I even at one point pulled out my knife and cut at my own foot. I struggled loose as I ran for Sarah as she just as she sunk into the river. I jumped in the river after her and pulled her out. I swam as fast as I could back to shore, holding on to her both with one arm with dear life, struggling to get back to shore just as Jim found. I saw Jim run towards us and helped me pull her back to shore. I quickly gathered up. The next morning, I quickly gathered up our stuff. Luckily, I got what I want, most of that on film. Sarah nearly died of drowning. Luckily, we got her to the hospital when we did. Both of us, because we nearly suffered from hypothermia. Doctors were wondering why. How could we suffer from hypothermia when it wasn't cold enough? When it was cold enough outside to suffer from it. Jim took the footage to the mayor. Oh God, I'm sorry, guys. We got our money. We got paid. I knew more cases like this would be on its way, though. This is Jim as we drove across the bridge one last time. We looked around. Saw nothing. We heard nothing. And then Jim told me that he had to start the engine more than had to look at the engine, the battery, to see if it was working on his way to drive us to the hospital. Because it stopped. The car just stopped in the middle of the bridge. Luckily, he got it started again. That night, I went home after we got back from our trip. I got a phone call on my cell. Someone else wanted us to start a new investigation on another city, another state. Pays good. I guess we'll go see what we can get into. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this. I know it's normally longer than what I normally do. Like I said, it's a story. Hope you guys liked it. If you did, please hit the like button. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. And with that said, see you in the next one. Good luck. Good night. God bless.